What is going on, guys? Grave here. Today let's talk about the week 1 patch notes we got for the public test server for update 47. Now keep in mind this is week 1, so there's liable to be a lot of changes before this goes live for update 47. This update is not as bad as some people thought it was going to be. I think a lot of people thought that subclassing would get absolutely destroyed. Everything that everybody's using this meta would. That's not really the case, but at the same time I don't really feel like it was as good as it could have been. I still feel like there could have been a lot of changes to move us in a better direction going forward. But I'm going to go over just the base combat and gameplay kind of idea of what they talked about here. I'm going to have separate videos talking about the gear changes, certain class changes, all that stuff in the coming days this week. But let's go ahead and hop right into it. It says, greetings. It has officially been an entire update with subclassing in the wild, and we've been closely monitoring all the fun and wacky antics unfold in its wake. We know there's a lot of discussion over its impact in the game and how it could potentially change a lot of things moving forward, mainly game balance. But we're going to continue to watch as data comes in and solidify this brave new world. This patch will be relatively light, with balance adjustments on classes since they're still discussing a lot of the potential of ways to move forward and waiting to see how it behaves. That's kind of I don't know. It's a strange statement to me considering they did a lot of testing, in the public test server for update 46. We've got to see how this is going to work now on PC and console. I know we haven't had the update as long as PC has here on console, but we've still seen how this is going to work. And I was really hoping for some changes to these skill lines that are pretty much absolutely useless, that you don't see really anybody using unless they're making a theme build or kind of a role-playing build. But when it comes to actual damage potential or something for a support class, some of these skill lines just are not really usable. So I was hoping we would see some changes to those. I really don't want to see buffs and nerfs. I just want to see just buffs. And I've said that in a lot of my videos where, balance out what you need to, but don't really nerf a lot of the stuff that people use. Just buff the stuff that nobody is using. And that way you have more options. But that's always been my kind of opinion here in ESO. Unfortunately, that's not always how it goes. It says being on light class balance still means there is some. We're still having a few adjustments, and these are the two that I understand why they did it, but I don't really agree with it. It says abilities like Grim Focus and Bound Armor are often being used for pure passive reasons. And there's a lot of people out there, I've even tried builds with this myself, instead of maybe even using your Oaken Soul Ring, or you could have your Oaken Soul Ring on, whatever the case may be there, you can put Grim Focus and Bound Armor on the back bar and never even have to swap to that back bar. So if you wanted to make a build, use a monster set, not even use the Oaken Soul Ring or any mythic, you could put all of your passives on the back bar with Grim Focus and Bound Armor. Just use your main bar skills there and still be getting a good bit of the benefit. I understand that they're saying people are using that not really as it's intended, but at the same time, I don't really see it being a problem either. But they're going to do some general reworking to both of those. Instead, they will be granting major and minor effects to ensure that they're still helpful, but they won't have their unique unnamed effects for slotting. In the same way as before, they will be working, kind of as intended, but not in that same way. Additionally, they're taking a stab at ultimate generation as well and how high it can impact kind of ultimate resources, the major and minor system. This is mainly expressed in forms of class passives like Mountain's Blessing, Savage Beast, where these passives still grant the same amount of ultimate as before, but over a duration and unable to stack with other sources. I'm not a real big fan of that either. I've spent a lot of time lately trying to make a certain healer build that's mainly going to be focused on, yes, it's still going to heal, but I wanted it to be able to, do a lot of, ultimate regen, and that's kind of out the window with this. Also, they're going to do one thing here that I really do like. It says, of course, they're going to do the regular bug fixing, a balance pass, and they did a lot of changes to trial source sets, which I thought was really good. I still want to see some older gear sets looked at again and just some minor tweaks to make them usable, but this is kind of a good direction for that. The main thing that I liked here is they're trying to get the stacked base sets with more restrictive requirements, while also lessening the delta between those who can utilize them perfectly and those who struggle to get good mileage from them. So what they're basically saying is they wanted to make sure that people that are really good with these sets are still going to be able to be really good with these sets. But for everyone else out there, if you're not really good with these sets, you're struggling to get the stacks and get them to work correctly, they want to make it a little bit easier so they work well for everyone, so they'll be, easy to be able to use but still hard to master. It says they're going to do this by lowering how many stacks you need to reach them to be worthwhile. Most of these cases result in buffs for reaching their upper limits, while also making them more consistently viable by allowing you to reach those limits. So I do like that change. I know some people may disagree. They may say, oh, you're making it too easy for just the normal casual player that's not really paying attention to all of the stats and things with gear. But at the same time, I think it's a good idea to have, like I said, have something in the game where anyone can use it and still do well with it, but it's going to be a tougher thing to master. So the real skill players are going to be able to master it, but everyone else is still going to be able to get good use out of it. When it comes to the rest, out of this combat and gameplay kind of synopsis they put out, I'm not a real big fan of. Like I said, the abilities like Grim Focus, Bound Armor are often being used as purely passives, granting more power than they're happy with. So they're going to do some general reworking. I don't really think neither of the abilities nor their remorse will grant unique unnamed effects is a general rework, because those are things that those passes have done for a long time. So that's not really completely revamping it, but at the same time you're taking away a lot of what those passes have done. And I think the big one here for a lot of people that's going to be disappointed with this update, because there's a lot of things, like I said, that are still good. Like you'll see in the videos the rest of this week, there's a lot of things in here that I'm really happy with. But these two I'm not a big fan of, but I think the biggest one here is the Ultimate Gen. I'm just not a big fan of that. I'm still kind of confused in my mind of where they think this is going to be good down the road. I know they make a lot of changes to where we see something and we're like, holy crap, why did they do this? And then later on it kind of makes sense, maybe, in a way. It may not be, or it may not make the most perfect sense in the end, but I understand why they did it. This one I'm really not sure on. And like I said, for a lot of people out there, I feel like you're going to have to turn around, and if you've made it, like I said, an Ultimate Gen kind of healer like I was doing, or something on a support class, this is going to kind of suck, because you're going to have to completely revamp all of that if this does stay. But overall, like I said, I'm not really disappointed with this. I mean, it's not as bad as people thought. A lot of people are thinking that, or even asking for, if you're not a fan of beam builds, that you just completely destroy the Arcanist and subclassing with the Arcanist. I didn't really expect them. I mean, I guess they could have, but I didn't really expect them just to destroy everything. That may come later down the line, who knows. But at the same time, they didn't do as much as I thought they would. But what they did do was pretty serious for these, like I said, Grim Focus, Bound Armor, and of course, Ultimate Regen. Everything else, there's a few gear changes I kind of am curious about why they did, which is still not awful. But overall, I was hoping that, now knowing that we're getting away from the whole yearly content idea and going to more of a season pass thing, I was really hoping that ZOS was going to go into the mode of, hey, let's go back and look at everything we've done over the years. Some of these ideas we had were good. Some of them were absolutely awful. Let's go in and change the awful ideas and make them work better, and let's go in and look at some of these older gear sets. And they did do some of the older sets within the changes to the trial sets. Let's go in and look at the game as a whole and change these things that were really bad ideas that we did that are still in the game, because a lot of times they don't go back. Every once in a while they will, but when they do, it's not really still a great fix when they do that. But for the most part, they stay kind of with what they're doing. Let's go back and change all this old crap that we've done and make it work. And let's go in and buff a lot of these old gear sets up. I was kind of hoping that was the direction ZOS was going to go in. They keep saying, they got away from the whole yearly content idea. It's going to give them more time to create and do things. But I'm not really seeing it with this update. We may see more of that in the future, but when it comes to update 47, it's not like it's not game breaking, but it's also not game changing. it's just kind of one of those, all right, updates. You know, it's just whatever. So leave me a comment with your thoughts. Let me know what you think about this kind of combat and gameplay introduction they gave us, kind of discussing what's going on inside of ESO for update 47. Leave me your thoughts, and of course, if you like the video, hit the like. If you have not subscribed yet, please do so, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.